Hi, I'm Daniel Forrest, Product Concierge for Knauz Continental Autos in Lake Bluff. In this video, we'll be going over the Mercedes-Benz User Experience, or MBUX system. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Start the intro. So here we are with MBUX, or the Mercedes-Benz User Experience. This is our latest infotainment system, our most advanced ever, and arguably the most advanced in the industry. Much like Siri or Amazon Alexa, it relies heavily on artificial intelligence and natural language detection. It's really easy to give voice commands in the car. There are no specific prompts you need to memorize. You just think of anything that another human being could reasonably understand, and then you just tell the car to do it. It's basically like having a personal assistant in the car at all times. There are just a few exceptions. The active safety features like the blind spot monitoring or active lane keep assist cannot be disabled with your voice. You do need actual input with your hands to accomplish that. In case you get some passenger who decides it's going to be a funny idea to set the cruise control at 95 or something like that. However, anything relating to comfort or convenience in the car certainly can be controlled with just a simple voice command. And it doesn't need to be super specific either. So for example, you could say, "Hey Mercedes."
How can I help you?
I'm cold.
I'm setting the temperature to 63 degrees.
So you can tell that the car really knew what we were asking was for it to raise the temperature. You can feel free to be a little bit more specific as well. So you could say something like, "Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?"
Open the sunshade.
Okay, I'm opening the roller sun blinds.
So one of the coolest things about MBUX is that it does have a memory regarding the subjects you're talking about. Another example I have for this is, "Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?"
What was the score of the last Cubs game?"
The final score was Philadelphia Phillies 9, Chicago Cubs 7.
"Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
When do they play next?"
The Cincinnati Reds are playing the Chicago Cubs Saturday, May 25th at 1:20 p.m.
So you can see that you didn't even have to specify that I was still talking about the Cubs, that the car was smart enough to remember that was the last thing I was specifically talking about, so that must be what I'm referencing now. While voice commands are the name of the game in MBUX, that certainly is not the only way that you have to operate this infotainment system. We do have a new generation of touchpad, as well as for the first time ever in Mercedes-Benz, a touch screen. This one's really responsive. It's much like using a smartphone, and what the advantage is here is so that your passenger has a safe means to operate the screen if they need to change a radio station or the volume without having to bump the driver's hand away, since this is naturally where they'll rest it. So you have a few different options to control all of the comfort and convenience settings in your MBUX system. So another thing I'd like to take a minute to talk about with MBUX is the different profiles. There are different memory settings within the car which memorizes the position of your seat, steering wheel, and side view mirrors. What's really great about MBUX is it's taken that several steps further. In addition to the memory settings in the car, it also remembers your favorite radio station, what information you like to have displayed on the central display up here, the style of gauges that you like, the ambient lights, and several other things. Another thing that we should talk about is certainly the different amount of themes that you have. It's in a quick access menu, just a couple swipes down from the main screen, and they're presets for the entire car depending on what you're going to be doing on any given drive or day. The car comes with a bunch of preloaded themes. You also have the ability to make your own. For example, you do have the trip theme. You would use this if you're going on a road trip. It brings up the navigation screen, gives you some nice blue ambient lights, nice relaxing kind of ambiance for when you're driving, won't make you too sleepy or energized. And then in the middle you get a minimized graphic, so that way you're not bombarded with a whole ton of information, and it's not going to be hard to decipher between the different bits of information on the instrument cluster when you're driving at highway speed. But let's say that one day it's the weekend and you're feeling a little bit more sporty, you want to go on a spirited drive. We have the experience theme for that. The first thing it's done is change the ambient lights to yellow, so the car has a little bit more of an aggressive appearance. And rather than the navigation screen up here, what we have now are some performance metrics. It gives you real-time output numbers of the amount of horsepower and torque the engine's making, as well as the volts from the battery and the charge air pressure from the turbo, so how many pounds of boost it's making at any given moment in time. We do certainly have a tachometer back up here instead of a minimized gauge cluster, because that's important in performance driving, as well as the gauges have been changed black and yellow to give us that more of an aggressive theme. But let's say you're just going out on the town one night, you're going to go out for dinner and just have a nice relaxing day, so you may want to go with the lounge theme. It gives you a couple of different colors of ambient lights. It's red and blue, creates some really great ambiance in here. It brings up the radio, since it figures you're probably just going to be listening to music if you're going out for a night on the town. And in addition to that, you do get these really nice minimized gauges in the central cluster. It's all about comfort, convenience. It gives you exactly what you need. Building a little bit more on what I was talking about with the different themes in the car is the fully customizable 3-tier gauge cluster. So since it's all digital, you don't have to be stuck with the traditional tachometer, speedometer, and trip information in the middle. There are 3 different sections of the screen which you can control at any given point in time. And not only that, there are 4 different styles of gauges you can have. So there's a classic, a sport, progressive, and then a minimalist style. So you can always change those by hitting the home button and swiping over to the design section and choosing what's most relevant to you. So basically, now that you've picked out a style of display that works well for you, you just use the touchpad to swipe between the left, middle, and right-hand sides of the car. Within each of these, you do have about 6 different bits of information that you can change, and the nice thing is you can even change it while you're driving. There are a couple of forward-thinking features that it has that I really would like to take some time to address. The first of which is the USB-C port in the car. If you do have this car for the next 5 years, when you do get your new phone, you're not going to have difficulties connecting it to the car, but for the time being, any MBUX system does come with adapters. Another thing that's great about MBUX is that all cars come standard with smartphone integration, so that means Apple CarPlay, Android Auto are going to be part of your car from the get-go. Regarding the navigation system from Mercedes-Benz, it is unbelievably advanced. You can give it specific addresses. It's free form in terms of how you want to tell it where you want to go. You don't have to remember specific word prompts like enter destination. You just tell it in any terms where you want to go, and the car is going to understand that accordingly. In addition to that, it does get over-the-air updates. Typically, you don't get updates until you bring the car in for service. Another thing that separates us apart from the competition is the augmented reality navigation. Up on the windshield, there is a camera, and when you have a navigation destination put in here and you become about a quarter mile away from your next turn, the car is going to turn on the camera and superpose a live video feed of your real-world surroundings. And in addition to that, it's going to put arrows telling you exactly where you need to make your turns. So those are just a couple of examples of things that you can do inside the car. If you are feeling a little bit cheeky, you can do stuff as well as, hey Mercedes,
How can I help you?
can you tell me a joke?
I haven't slept for 10 days because that would be way too long.
So as you can see, even Mercedes herself has a little bit of a sense of humor. This is just an unbelievably advanced system to have as a factory infotainment system in an automobile. Super user-friendly and fully customizable. This is MBUX. I'm Daniel Forrest, Product Concierge for Knauz Continental Autos in Lake Bluff, and I hope you found it informative. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks.